Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a cherry blossom castle. This magical build is a show-stopping feature to add to your world, and I'll be showing you step by step making this grand build easy to create. Not only is this build stylish with its moss-topped roofs, but it's surprisingly spacious as well, giving you lots of places to decorate and making it a great option for a survival base. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. Keep in mind that for a complex build like this, it's always useful to have a few extra of each supply on hand. Here is an outline for today's build. You can see the 3 turrets marked in there and then the keep at the back as well as the walls, so you can put in an outline like this one to help you build. We're going to begin our build by working on the foundations of these towers. Now I'm just going to be using stone when I build these initially, but then when I go and move it into its final location, I'm going to do some texturizing to mix in some moss blocks. You can add these in as you're creating if you'd like, as well as some mossy stone brick, but I'm going to leave it to the end. I'm starting by creating these 2 high walls, which are 5 wide, and then I'm adding this 3 high section, or rather 3 wide section, just in the center. On the 4 sides, like that. I'm then going to add 1 block here and 2 walls on top, and then I'll come behind and add in a couple of more blocks just to fill in that gap. So we've got block, 2 walls, and a few blocks. So when we look from the outside, this is what we have, and you can see the walls in the corner. I'm also going to be placing in a couple more walls around here like this. There we go. Now onto these 2 sides, I'm going to build up 2 high with stone brick and add a stair at the top. I'm just doing this on the 2 sides that aren't connecting up to the walls there. Next we'll move on to this turret over here. I'm going to build it 2 high all the way around the base. And then starting in the corner, I'm going to add an extra block on every other block. Like that. Then I'm going to take some stone brick stairs and I'm just placing these in the gaps, making sure I'm rotating around to match up with the side that we're on. Now over to this keep at the back, we're going to build 2 high with our blocks going all the way around, making sure we leave out this gap for the door. Don't forget you can get a schematic or world download for this and all of my other builds over on Patreon, where you can also get access to a multi-world Patreon server. And now with that, and we're going to add it in a few more. We're going to place 2 on the corners like this. Then I'm going to come to the side and I'm going to count 1 in from either side, and this is just on the long sides here. There we go. I'm going to place a block above the doorway like this. And then we've got some stairs coming in. So we've got to fill in these 2 sides with stairs. Over to the 2 longer sides. On this side, I'm going to be placing a block in here and going across to either side with stairs. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. There we go. Then I'm going to take some walls. These are going in each corner. On these 2 long sides, we're going to be placing in a chiseled stone brick underneath this block. So that's 3 blocks in with a stair on top. And on this other side, doing the same thing. Over here next. 1, 2, 3. There we are. And then on this side that is facing outwards, we're going to place a chiseled stone brick in the center below this block with a stair on top. Now onto the base of the final turret here. I'm going to build up 3 high to begin with. Now looking from the front of the build, I'm going to be placing in 1 chiseled stone brick That's going to go in here. So that's the side that is next to the keep. I'm also going to place in a few more stone bricks, and then I'll fill in the gap with stairs. Next, we need to make a couple of designs. I'm going to place a stone brick here with an upside down and right way up stair, and on this side as well. And so again, this is on the two sides where we don't have the walls. Now that we've got these 4 foundations in, I'm going to go into the base of each one and fill it in with some polished andesite. If you're building this in survival, you could use slabs here to save on resources. I'm also going to go ahead and fill in the floors. Now you can either leave a gap now for placing in the ladder, or you can fill it in and we can come back to that later. And that's what I'm going to do. Make sure when you're doing this you light up your spaces, but let's go ahead and fill all of these in. I'm almost done filling in the very last turret's floor, and you can see I've been using slabs this whole time. I've chosen dark oak, but you could use whatever you like, and they're just placed at this top level here so everything's flush from the top. Now we're going to continue work on this largest turret now. I'm going to come to these corner points here with my cherry logs and build up a total of 10 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll do this in the other 3 corners as well. Then on the 2 sides that face out the stone brick, I'll build up 3 high with diorite walls. Now before we begin filling in the walls on the 4 sides, we're going to mark in our windows and doors. I'm going to come to this side which faces outwards, and I'm going to start by coming 1 block up and then add in a 4 high window. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see I'm in line with the dark oak planks here. I'm then going to come up, leaving a 2 block gap. That way I can have another window here. I'm going to do this same design around on this front side. 1, 2, 3, 4. A 2 block gap and a window on top. There we go. Now for these 2 walls, we've got to add in our doors. So I'm going to come 1 block up and build in a 2 block gap. Then I'm going to count 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, and add in our 2 on top. So we've got 2, a 3 wide gap, 2. Let's do this on this side. 2, 1, 2, 3, 2. There we go. I'm going to now fill in these 4 walls in line with this window we've marked out. So you'll see it'll be 1 block out from the post we've created using a mixture of my white materials. So for this, I've got white wool, I've got white concrete powder and calcite. So whenever I say to fill in something using our white blocks throughout the build, and that'll be on all of our turrets and our keep, I'll be using a mixture of these 3. And it's up to you how much of each block you use, and it can kind of depend on how much you have of each supply. And I'm just filling up to 1 block below here, so I've got to stop here, but let's make sure we fill in these rest of the gaps, and I'll be taking a step back every now and then to check that I like the texture. So here's what we have for our walls on this turret. You can see the nice texture we've got going on here. Now over to this next biggest turret. So not the one at the back, we've got the other one at the front next. So I'm going to grab some of our nether brick walls here. These have a similar sort of hue to the cherry wood logs, as you can see. And I'm going to build up 7 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and top it off with the cherry log. And this is going to be on each of these stone brick corners. And you can see how this is kind of standing in place for the posts that we've got over on that larger turret. We just have to scale things down for this smaller scale. Once again, before we put our walls in, we need to mark in our doors and windows. So I'm going to start 1 block up above this dark oak here and build up 4 high. 1, 2, 3, 4. And over on this side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now for the 2 walls that connect up to these walkways and walls of the castle, I'm going to just mark in my 2 high windows, or rather my 2 high door spot. There we go. Next I'm going to fill in these 4 walls just up to the height of this nether brick. again using my 3 white materials. So there's one wall done, now onto the others. Now we've got the base walls for these 2 turrets in. I'm going to take a temporary block and just create a frame set 1 back from these walls. I'm then going to take some stripped cherry logs and face them outwards like this. And then I can remove these temporary blocks. Over on this turret, I'm going to do the same thing, setting back this little outline, and then filling in these gaps with the stripped cherry logs. Next we need to work on this small turret at the back. I'm going to start by marking in 2 doorways, so we have one lining up with this wall here on this side and one facing towards the keep. I'm then going to use my white blocks to fill in just above this doorway. Now you'll notice here when I place the concrete powder above the door, when I remove the door it's going to fall down, so you could either avoid placing concrete powder above that gap, or you can just place it back when it falls down when you put the door in later. Okay, that's our first layer done. Now on these 2 sides that don't have doorways, I'm going to mark in a 5 high window. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. On these 2 sides that do have a doorway, however, I'm just going to jump up a block like this, and I'll create the window to the same height, but it's only going to be 4 high this time. Like that. Next, I'm going to fill in all 4 of these walls up to 2 above the height of these windows. So let's go ahead and fill that in. Alright, so we're 2 high on this side. Let's move around to this side now. All of our walls are in place now, so next I'm going to start by placing our 4 stripped cherry logs in the corners. I'm then going to use a temporary block, so that way I can place our remaining 4 stripped cherry logs to fill in these gaps, but these ones are facing outwards. And we're moving on to the last base walls for this build over here in the keep. So I'm going to build up 8 high in each corner using a cherry log. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can see I'm building on top of the dark oak here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and over here. There we go. Now on the 2 long sides, I'm going to count 3 across, and on the 4th block, I'll be placing in another post. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And you should see that there is a 3 block gap in the center. I'm also going to use these logs to connect up along here like this. And I'll leave the rest of the gaps free. Now we're going to mark in our windows and doors. So in each of these panels we're going to have a 4 high window, 1 above the base there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And over to here we'll do the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. And around on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now that we've got those 4 marked in, let's deal with these 2. These 2 are going to be 5 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On this end wall that faces outwards, we're going to have another 5 high window centered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now on this side, where we are next to this turret here, we're going to mark in a doorway first. So that's 2 high and it's 1 above the ground here. I'll then count 2 blocks up and then add in a 1 high window above that. While I've got these temporary blocks in my hand, I'm just going to mark out a border going all the way around the inside of this build. And this is going to allow me to place in some more of the stripped cherry logs. So we're going to go all the way across this side and these gaps with these logs, making sure they're facing outwards. And I can now remove this temporary outline. And we're going to fill in the rest of these walls with our mixture of white materials. So there we go, I filled in all of these wall panels and we're going to work on the 4 gables here. I'm going to mark in a 2 high window on each of the large gables marked in the center and 1 block above here. And then on these 2 smaller gables, I've got a 1 high window, like that. Okay, let's work on this end first. We're going to be going up in groups of 2, again using our mixture of supplies here. So we've got our first layer of 2, then we're going to go up another layer of 2, so that's another layer of 2 there, and then we'll finish with 2 at the top. So let's go like that, I think. Okay, so that's the top of our point. Now we need to come back down and fill in this side. So we've got 2, we need another 2 here, there we are, and we've got our 2 at the top. Let's do this on the other end now. You might find it easier for this step of the build to build all out of 1 supply and then come back in to add in the texture afterwards. Okay, so 2, we need to add a layer of 2 on top of here next, so let's add in that. There we go, and we need to add a layer of 2 on this side. Like that. Now for these 2 smaller gables, we're going to again be going up in layers of 2. So I'll just start by placing a block under here and let's add in our 2 layers. Like this. Okay, over to this side and we're going to do the same thing. There we are. Now we're going to connect each of these sections of our castle up with some walls, starting on this front wall. I'm going to build up 4 high on either side of the gate, 1, 2, 3, 4, using some of my stone brick. So this should be below the doorway here like this. And you can see that I'm connecting the wall up to the turret. I'm then going to build across here so we have a 3 wide gap underneath. Okay, next we've got some chiseled stone brick. I'm going to start here and place them on every other block. And then in between those, we've got some stone brick stairs placed in upside down. Like this. We need to add an archway for our gate now, so let's add a chiseled stone brick on either side with a wall on top. Then we're going to place a stone brick stair on top of that. There and there. Some upside down stairs and then a slab in the center to create the archway. I'm also going to hang some trapdoors like this, so that way I can hang a lantern from them. You'll notice that if I place the trapdoor here, I'm not going to be able to hang a lantern. And you can check you've got it on the right block, because instead of flipping downwards like this, it should flip upwards like that. There we are. I'm also going to come back here and place in 3 iron bars. I'll come inside the gate and we're going to create a similar sort of archway here with 2 chiseled stone brick, our walls, and then on here we're going to be placing in a slab, followed by 2 upside down stairs, and then 2 slabs in the center like this. And we've got ourselves a nice little archway. Now we need to create some crenels and merlins across the top. Those are the pointy castle-y things. So we're going to place in blocks first with slabs in between, and then some walls on top of the blocks, like this. I'm also going to come inside here and using a temporary block, I'll just place them on top of the wall, so that way I can place in a whole load of cherry trapdoors to create the railing on the other side. So from the inside, here's what we have. Coming over to this wall next, we're going to start off the same way, building up 4 high and just connecting this wall up. So we've got a base like this. I'm going to start with my chiseled stone brick on this end and I'll place it on every other block. Like that. And then we've got our upside down stairs in between. Now we're going to work on the base down here. I'm going to start by placing a chiseled stone brick underneath here. Then we're going to go ahead and place this underneath each of the other chiseled stone brick. We'll place a wall on top of those and some upside down stairs below each of the chiseled stone bricks. Like that. Now for the crenellations on top of here, we'll start with our blocks with one going here and then on every other block. Then we've got our slabs next. And our walls. Coming inside the build now, I'm going to be placing in a stair here, followed by another stair here, and this is how we're going to access our next level. So I'm going to add one block in here and then use some more stone brick stairs to create a staircase. I'm just going to zigzag back and forth with these like this, and I need to place one more down here. I'm going to use cherry trapdoors for the railing on the staircase as well. And of course I'm going to need my temporary blocks to create the railing up here. I'm also going to need to place in a couple more trapdoors to fill in those gaps. Next we need to fill in this little wall here. Start by building up 4 high again. On the outside we're going to be placing a chiseled stone brick in the center and then at the top as well as over here. Then we've got our stairs in between, a stair below here and our wall on top of there. Now we've got to finish it off with a couple of blocks, some slabs, walls, and last but not least our trapdoors. Now over to the final wall. And just as on all of the other sides, we're building up 4 high to begin with. Then we're going to start by placing our chiseled stone brick over here and alternating on every other block, finishing above this wall here. Then we've got our stairs in between and our stairs below. A few more chiseled stone bricks going in now with our walls on top, like that. And we're going to start by placing our first stone brick here. So that's in this gap, and then on every other block. Coming inside now, we've got to add in a couple of stairs here and here. And then I'm going to use some temporary blocks to place in my trapdoors. And the last few once we remove these blocks. While we still got our stone brick materials, we're going to add an archway above this door. For this I'm going to add in 2 chiseled stone brick, a couple of walls, then we've got 2 stairs, and a slab, like that. Coming up to the top of this build, we're going to go in with a few more cherry logs now. So along the 2 long sides, they're like this. And then we've got 2 more on each of the shorter sides. Below each of these, I'll add in 2 nether brick walls. And I'll also be adding 2 diorite walls at the base of each of the posts. Now of course here we're going to just be placing 1 in on top, but then we can continue placing 2 on this side. For all of our other doors on this build, we're going to be using cherry, so I'll be creating a cherry archway like this, On either side of the door, I'll add in a cherry trapdoor. And then I'll replace the door with a cherry door, like that. So again, over on this side, we'll have our cherry door, our 2 cherry trapdoors, and our cherry archway. Let's repeat this design on all of our doorways. All of my doors are decorated now. You'll need to keep in mind though that this door connecting to the smallest turret is going to have a wall on this side, so you'll only need to place in 1 trapdoor here. Alright, we're going to move over to this turret at the front, and I'm going to add in 2 trapdoors above the doors, like that. And let's add in some window decoration here. I'm going to start by placing a moss block above and below the window. Then I'm going to go in with some stairs, as well as some upside down stairs here and here. I'll connect these up with some cherry fences, and I'll hang a lantern from here. And I'm going to cover the front of each of the moss blocks with a trapdoor like that. So let's repeat this design around here as well. If you're enjoying today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing. It really helps me out. And check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me further and get some other great benefits. I'd love to have you in my community. Over to the next turret now, we're going to work on the window that's above here. So we're going to start by placing a moss block in here, and we're going to be placing a stair on either side of this, as well as coming up from that like that. I'm going to create an archway at the top with a stripped cherry log in the center, and I'll place in a couple of fences on either side of the window. Then we've got some trapdoors, one in front of here and one below, like this. We're going to create this same design on this window over here. Next, I'm going to come around to these windows on the outer walls. I'm going to start by placing a moss block at the bottom, with some stairs on either side, and of course a trapdoor at the front. Now I'm going to come up to the top of this window here and add in a stripped cherry log. I'm then going to place a temporary block off to the side like this, so that way I can hang a sign down from here. Now I'm going to create a design at the bottom of this sign using some hearts. But if you are on Bedrock, you could just use a design using some letters. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to come back and dye this sign white with some glow ink. There we go, I've dyed my sign and I've adjusted my heart design just a little bit, but now I can break this temporary block and we're going to go in with the rest of the window frame. So we've got 2 stairs and we've got some other stairs facing inwards like this. I'm going to connect this up with some cherry fences now. So here's what we've got. Then above here, I'm going to add in a moss block, which I'll surround with some cherry trapdoors, and this will create a planter for the window above. So here's what we've got so far. Now I'm in creative, so I can hold Control and then my mouse click center button so that I can collect this sign. So that way when I come around here, I can use the same sign again without having to type it out. Okay, I'm just going to create the same design for this window and then we can move on to the other turrets and their decorations. There we are, onto the next turret. For the turret at the back of this build, I'm going to start by placing a moss block below each of the windows, as well as above each of the windows. Then using a temporary block, I'm going to be placing in another one of my decorative signs. And now we can go in with our stairs, so 2 stairs on either side and an archway at the top. Now at the base, we're going in with a stair on either side. And we're going to place a trapdoor in front of each of the moss blocks. Finally, we're going to take some cherry fences and just connect this all up. So if we take a step back, here's what we've got for this turret. You can see how we're using similar elements throughout the window decorations to keep everything looking cohesive. Now over to the keep, and we've got two sets of window decorations here. On these shorter windows, we're going to place a moss block above and below. Then we'll go in with a few stairs. And I'm also going to need to place a sign in here, so I'll need to use a temporary block for that. Then we've got our fences and our trapdoors. So this design is just like what we have over here. Then for these taller 5-high windows, we're doing something a bit different. So we'll have a moss block in the center with our stairs on either side, and we'll also have stairs coming up here. And don't forget that trapdoor. Then at the top, we're going to place in a stripped cherry log with stairs on either side. And coming downwards from here, I'll hang a lantern from this block, and in these 3 spaces, we'll add a trapdoor. Now that we've got these 2 designs, we can go and add these to these windows. So I've added the decorations to all of these windows, and you'll see here that I've removed this trapdoor that was next to this diorite and replaced it with a fence, and you can just move that trapdoor from here down to down here. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to work on these windows up the top. So we're going to place a moss block with some cherry trapdoors underneath these 2 smaller windows. Then for the 2 larger windows, we're going to have a slightly larger design with the moss block, some stairs, and then our trapdoors again. We also need to add some decoration to this window above the door. So here we'll have a moss block, a stripped cherry log, then we've got some stairs, and some fences. And don't forget that trapdoor. Now we should have all of our windows decorated now, so we can move on to the next step. I'm going to be taking some crimson slabs. I'll be placing one underneath this planter with 2 stairs on either side, creating a design like this. And we'll do this on the back as well. Over on the side, we're creating a similar design. Start with a crimson slab with stairs, and we're also going to add an extra stair here. Like this. Now over to this turret, I'm going to be placing in a couple of nether brick walls. And I'll be placing these down here as well. Then coming back up to the top, we'll place a slab with some stairs on either side. I've also got some nether brick fences here, and I'll add these on top of these 2 walls. So here's what we've got for this turret. Now we're going to come forward and work on this larger turret. I'm going to start by placing 2 crimson stairs coming out from each of these cherry logs. In the corner of that, I'll add a trapdoor with a crimson slab on top of that. There we go. Now we need to work on in front of here with a slab in the center and then 2 crimson stairs on either side. So here's how that design looks. Next we need to add some designs to this one here. This is just simply a crimson slab with some stairs on either side. And once we've got this design in, we're going to start working on our roofs. Now for these roofs, I'm going to be building them mostly out of my cherry wood, and then I'll go back in later and randomize with some moss blocks. So we're going to start on this roof here first, beginning with some cherry stairs. And for these, I'm going to be placing them straight on top of here. So we've got our first layer is just wrapped around the bottom like this. Then we've got a row of blocks on top, a row of stairs, and you can see we're just repeating this process. Blocks, and then stairs. And you can also see that I'm sticking one out from these walls. Now when I get up to this layer, I'm going to have a row of blocks coming across like this. And then I'm going to have a row of moss just coming out to here. Then we've got a row of stairs again. And for our final layer on the top of this build, we're going to be having 2 moss blocks. So that's one corner done, and I'm going to repeat this step on the other 3 corners. So starting here with our stairs, then our blocks and our stairs, and we're following along the guideline created by these gables. We're up to our final layer of blocks and stairs here, and finishing off with the moss. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing on the back now, but I'm also going to go ahead and randomize my moss texture. So I'm going to bring the moss down a little bit lower here like this, just adding in a few here and there. Let's add one over here, I think that looks good, and let's add a couple more up here. Like that. And I can bring some of this cherry wood up, so let's put one in here, maybe one over here, and we're going to come over this side. Let's place in some over here next. And I can take a step back and check that I like this texture, and I do. On to the other side now. So you can see I've got the other side looking just like the front, and once again we're going to go in and add a little bit more moss to this texture. Now you can have it exactly mirror the front, but I'm going to have mine look a little bit different. Let's take a step back and have a look at this. And I think that looks pretty good. Now we need to add some edging, and for this we're going to be using crimson. Let's start by doing these small gables. So I'm going to add a stair here like this, as well as where we have our other stairs. Then I'll come underneath and add in some upside down stairs. Like that. Then at the top we're going to have a block of crimson planks with a slab on top. And I'll place in a few cherry logs just so it sticks out one like that. Let's do this on the front of the build. There we are. Now we're going to come to these larger gables and we're going to do just the same thing. So we'll go in with our stairs first. And our upside down stairs as well. Then we'll have 2 crimson planks at the top with a slab at the very top of that. And then we're going to connect up these 2 edges with some trapdoors. So I'll place these trapdoors going along this way like this. But then I'm going to rotate and place the other ones underneath in the opposite direction, so it creates this crisscrossed pattern. And this just makes them look a little bit more solid. Right, over to the other side, and we're going to repeat this design. Coming in with our trapdoors again. And don't forget to do these on the other side of the build as well. We're also going to be adding 3 cherry logs to either side of the larger gable. Let's take a step back and have a look at this roof now. Now that we've got this roof done, let's move over to this turret. So I'm going to start with some cherry planks, and I'm going to be placing them in a little section like this. And I'm going to add a stair on top of each of the blocks, making sure I'm rotating around as I go. So we've got something that looks like this. Then I'm going to place a cherry plank in each corner. And for the next layer, we're going to integrate some moss. So I'm going to place a plank on either side like this, then a moss block on either side, like that. I'll make each of these one higher with a moss block, and then finally we'll finish off with 2 moss blocks at the top. So we've got our basic cone, and to the edge we're going to place a crimson slab, and then we're going to place a trapdoor on either side of that, and I'll come underneath and rotating around I'll place in 2 more trapdoors, again to create this crosshatch. And this kind of gives us the thickness of a slab, so we're going to get this wavy edge. So in the corner I'll place a slab, and then on the side again we'll have a slab with 2 trapdoors on either side. So if I step back, here's how it should look. Okay, let's quickly do this on the other sides. Adding in our trapdoors, and you'll need to remember to hold Shift or Crouch in order to place in this second lot of trapdoors. And if you are on bedrock, you can either hold your crouch button, or if you're having trouble placing it this way, you can always place in some sort of temporary block. That way you can place your trapdoor coming off of that like that. There we go. Let's take a step back, and there's that turret done. Next, we're going to come over to this turret here. Not our largest turret, our second largest turret. I'm going to start by placing a crimson plank in the center of each of these sides, and I'll place stairs on either side of that. Then we're going to have another cherry plank in each of these corners like this. And we're going to be needing some more temporary blocks. I'm just using some extra planks here, but you could use another block if you'd like, so that I can place some of my cherry stairs off on an angle like that. There we go, like this. Okay, ooh, one more to go. There we go. Now we're going to be placing 2 cherry planks in each of these gaps. And we're creating a nice swooping sort of cone here. And I'm also going to be placing a plank in each corner. So looking from above now, we've sort of got a diamond. And this is where we're going to start mixing in a little bit of moss. So we're going to place a moss block on top of each of these points here. And then in between these, we're going to add a cherry plank. Like this. On top, I'm going to go in with some more moss blocks. And then finally, we're going to add 3 on top. 1, 2, 3. Let's step back, and we've got our basic cone shape. Now to add in the edge. So like before, we're going to place in a crimson slab onto this block on each side. Then we also have slabs off of this block here. Now it's time for some trapdoors, so we'll place in our trapdoors going around as well as in the corner. And then we'll come underneath, and making sure they're facing the opposite direction, we'll add in a few more of these. So it looks like this. For our last roof over here, I've grabbed out some sort of temporary block, and I'm going to be placing them around the edge like this. This is going to make it a lot easier to build. So I'm just following the shape here, and we'll end up with a sort of squared off circle. So it should look like this from above. Now this is quite a complicated design, so we're going to work layer by layer and take it slowly. I'm going to start by placing a cherry plank on each of these sides like this. On either side of that I'll add a cherry stair, and then we'll have a block and a stair. Block, stair. And you can always double check that you're building this correctly because all of your sides should be symmetrical. Okay, so that's our first layer. Now we need to build up another layer, and I've got some extra placeholder blocks here to help me. So I'm going to start by placing a block behind here like this, with a stair coming off to either side. I'm just going to do one step at a time coming around because it makes it a little bit simpler to make sure you're getting each side the same. Okay, we have that step in. Next I'm going to take some blocks and I'm going to build two out. So we've got one behind here and then one coming in. One and one. This is going to leave us with a one wide gap above that slab there. Which we're going to fill in with another cherry slab. And you can see our circles getting progressively smaller. Okay, let's work on the next layer. For this layer, I'm going to take some cherry planks and I'm going to build 3 across each side. And to fill in these 2 gaps, we're going to have some stairs. One stair here and one stair there. And we almost have a square now. And so we're going to go through a range of shapes till we reach the top. Okay, for this next layer, we're going to have 2 stairs and a block. And then in each corner, we're going to have another block. Now you can start mixing in some of the moss blocks here if you'd like, but I'm going to come back and tie that in just a second. So I'm going to start by adding in these sort of Tetris block shapes. And then I'm going to go in with some stairs on either side. Then we've got one more layer, and for here I'm going to switch to moss blocks. This layer is just a square like this. We're going to build up 2 high here, 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 and here. And finally, we've got 3 blocks at the top. 1, 2, 3. So I've kind of got it capped with the moss here, but I want to bring that moss down. So I'm going to just add a few in here and there. You can bring it down different amounts on each side, just depending on the look you're going for. And I think that's pretty good like that. And now we need to add our crimson edge, just like we have over here with the kind of wavy design. We're going to create the same thing here. So we'll start with our slabs on each of the faces. Like this. Then I'm also going to have a slab in front of these 2 blocks. The rest of the gaps are being filled in with our trapdoors. Okay, I've got my first layer, and just as before, I'm going to make sure I'm facing the opposite direction this time to put in the trapdoors underneath. And now that we've got those in, I can go ahead and remove all of these temporary blocks, revealing the finished roof for this section. Almost there. And there's our roof shape. We have a few more details to finish off this build, starting with some crimson fences. Now on these 2 roofs, I'm going to be placing these going up the side like this. And let's do it on this larger roof as well. We're also going to be using these crimson fences to make some flag posts. I'm building up 4 high on these 2 roofs. And I'm going to be using some white and pink wool. And I'm just creating a nice swooping shape. Now I'm going to make each of my flags a bit different. That gives it a more natural appearance, although you'll want to make sure that all of your flags are flying in the same direction. Okay, so there's my first flag, and let's do this next flag. Let's have it curved the same way, I think, for this one. We'll have it a little bit longer though, because this is a larger turret. Okay, there we go, and we'll add the pink on top. So there is our second flag. We're also going to be adding a flag to this small turret, but this one is going to be a smaller flag. I'm only building up 3 high for the flag post, and I'll just be using pink for this flag. Let's come forward. Okay, so we've got all of our flags in now. Next, we need to replace all of the temporary blocks here with our glass. I'm using white stained glass panes here, and I think it ties in well with the light color of the build. You may find that you need to replace a few blocks if you've got the white concrete powder above your window. All of that glass is in now. I'm going to take some cherry signs, and I'm just having these blank. I'm placing them above these windows here and along the sides of this larger turret. And I'm also going to be placing them on either side of here and along the top of here. The reason I'm leaving this gap free is so we can plant something here. The last few details before we move inside are to hang some lanterns. I'm going to be hanging 1 chain length down from this smaller gable and 2 chain lengths down from the larger gables. Alright, let's head inside now. I'm going to come into this larger turret first. So I'm coming in to do some decorating in a bit, so I'll just place down a temporary torch for now. But I'm going to add in a dark oak stair coming down from each of these doorways. Then I'll break a block down here, and you could either replace this with some stone brick, or if you want to add some storage, you could grab a barrel. And this is always my preferred method. Oh, that's an iron bar. A barrel. And I like to place these coming down like this. Then I can place my ladder on this, and we're going to go all the way up to the top of the roof here. There we are. Now we need to add in some floors in between. I'm going to be having a floor layer here for this layer of the build. So you can see that's a slab's width above this window and right below this window here for the next story. Adding in a temporary torch. And then I'm also going to have a floor for the attic space. So this is just going to sit flush with this level here. You can see that this really is a very spacious build. Okay, let's head down and head over to this turret next. Like before, I'm going to add in a couple of dark oak stairs, and I'm going to choose a location for my ladder. Let's go with here. I'm going to place in a few barrels, and then we can add our ladder going up all the way to the top. And for this floor, I'm just going to have an attic space marked in. And don't forget some lighting. Okay, coming down again. Let's head outside now. And we're going to go over to this turret here. So for this turret, we don't need to have a ladder going up, but we are going to have a ladder going down. So once again, we're going to place in our barrels. I'm going to move this torch over so I can place in some ladders. And I always like to place a dark oak trapdoor above this ladder, so that way we can easily walk over like this, over into the keep. This is a very nice grand space. Now I'm not going to have a ladder going down because we've got our doorway down there, remember? But I am going to add in a couple of beams using cherry logs going across like this. Quickly placing in a few torches here. And don't forget to add in some stairs. then I'm going to have a ladder coming up this side of the wall to an attic space here. So I can go ahead and fill in the rest of this floor at this level here, just one block below the window, with my dark oak slabs. If you're building this in creative, you could also choose to leave out this floor and either have the beams or not for a really fun vaulted ceiling. But in survival, dividing it like this gives you tons of space. Let's cast some cherry blossom magic on this beautiful fantasy castle to really spruce it up. And there we go, all of this decorating has really brought this build to life. So let's check it out. I've started by doing some planting on these mossy roofs, and you can see that I've used a mixture of drip leaves, some tall and short grass, and some ferns. And this really adds to the lush look of these roofs. So I've tried to keep the heights looking nice and different. It also helps to break up the shape a little bit of these points, just to give it a more natural appearance. And I've draped some cherry blossom leaves down each of the roofs like this. I've also continued this planting scheme down here into all of the pot plants. So I've used my pinks and my whites and green. And I've placed in a few more planters around the base and over here. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you decorate your interiors is that as well as having our doorways connecting each of the upper stories and having our staircase coming up to join in, we've got access to this basement level through this door here, and you can always add some more basement access by coming down here below these stairs, removing these 2 blocks, adding in a floor and a door, and it's a nice tucked away little doorway there. Onto the rest of the landscaping out here, you can see I've created 2 ponds on either side of my pathway. I've gone for a gravel type pathway, and to break up the gravel I've also used some dead coral blocks. And I've kind of got my pathway wearing out as we go, again tying into that more natural look we've got going on in this castle. I've placed some bushes around the base, and you can see I've added some mossy texture into the stone brick. And I've done these kind of organically shaped planting spaces using the pink and purple and white flowers on either side of the build. I also think it's a nice idea to use some of these little azalea bushes to frame your pathway. And of course you can go ahead and frame the whole build itself by placing in these cherry trees. I've also used some birch here to tie in with the white in the build, and then sprinkle some of these beautiful pink petals along the walkway. For tutorials for decorations for both the interior and exterior of the build, check out the links in the description below. So now you have a stunning cherry blossom castle in your world. Be sure to join my Discord to share some pictures of your build, and like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video.